What's going on, everybody? It's Ricky with Videohomicide, and today I wanted to talk about some Asian films that I really enjoy because, you know, I feel like I've made, a big statement that I'm like this horror guy, and like I am. I love horror films, but it's not just horror films. I love action films. Like just recently, I watched all the Lethal Weapon films, and that honestly, I can probably say is my favorite film franchise, horror, or any genre. I just fucking love the Lethal Weapon films. I think they're excellent. But that's, I would say like my favorite franchise. I wouldn't consider fucking, Dario Argento's Animals trilogy a film franchise because I hold that in higher regards than Lethal Weapon. But Lethal Weapon holds a special place in my heart. But today, I wanted to talk about Asian movies. Or movies from Asia, okay, not just from China or Indonesia or Japan or Korea, any of these other countries, but I'm speaking on Asia as a whole just to make it a little more easier for this video's sake. I mean, eventually I could probably do my favorite Korean films, but I don't feel like I've watched enough to be able to make that kind of list. But I have grown up with Asian movies in my life. My stepdad, he was Jamaican, right? And he said when he was a kid, he said the only movies that they ever played in theaters there, if they went to the theater, which was like a rare thing, but he said the only movies, and on TV and shit, it was kung fu movies and westerns. He said that was fucking it. He said they didn't really play horror films on TV and shit down there. So I was watching movies like, and I'm talking beaters, like cheesy motherfuckers. Like he would go to Walmart and buy all of like the dollar VHS tapes and shit. Like when DVD was like becoming a thing and like they were just liquidating all their tapes, he was buying stacks and stacks and stacks of these movies. And unfortunately, a lot of those movies got pitched. And I try not to think about that because it's very depressing. But I did learn a lot about the type of Asian movies I like because there's a few different kinds, right? There's obviously like dramas and shit like that, and like comedies, whatnot. Jackie Chan, I would consider like the action comedy kind of guy. Never was really big into Jackie Chan, but do respect his body of work, of course. But it was these movies like these, like, Three Evil Masters, which we'll get into. Movies like The Secret of the Shaolin Poles, which I never got to watch with him, but I watched after he had passed away. Like his copy of it. And then his copy went missing, and I had to I had to get like a copy off of the internet, which is a pain in the ass, but and I actually have a DVD-R of Shaolin Poles, but I don't have an actual case or anything like that. But I do want to get into this stack that I pulled. But before we get into the stack of the movies that I did pull, and I tried my best. Like I know a lot of these are probably going to seem kind of obvious, but they're obvious because I love them and they're fucking kick-ass. But real quick, I want to shout out all my homies, Radioactive Blob Fuel, of course, Trash Dash, everyone that's gotten behind issue 2 of Cinema 187, which is our exploitation / horror / art zine / articles and stuff. There's a comic in here. The comic is written and drawn by Radioactive Blob Fuel, and it is called, I believe I don't know if this is like the official name, but the name of the file he sent me was The Price of the Last Man on Earth. So that's what I titled it off with. But there's articles in here by Retro or Die, Forrest. There's people in here. There's a motherfucker in here from France. Cinema Sketchbook on Instagram is in here. Asian Shock Shirts has the center spread right here, which is cool. And if you go on to asianshock.com and type in Cinema 187, use code Cinema 187 for free shipping and 10% off. But if you also want to get your hands on these zines and stuff, so there's 187 number 1. There's Radioactive Blob Fuel's comic adaptation of Coffee, Pam Grier. Who the fuck directed that? Jack Hill, I believe. I could be wrong on the name, but here's another one of mine, Raise the Dead issue 4. Cinema 187 number 1, of course. Raise the Dead number 3. Number 2, number 1, and then my comic book Filthy Ralph, that's issue 2 with the City of the Living Dead Fulci cover ripoff, and then Filthy Ralph number 1 with like the EC kind of ripoff cover. And yeah, man, you can get all these for $20 US. Ship it or shipped, I mean. So if you go on to Instagram at cinema.187, message me on there. You can get this. People have asked me the price of this. Recently on Instagram, a few people asked for like how much for the lot, and the price I listed is not going to be the price that is cemented. And basically, if you've bought Cinema 187 number 2, you're getting all these. Even if you've got the other ones, you're getting them all. Just, get them out there. But anyways, we're going to take a look at this stack of movies that I've pulled. So first is, a series or a franchise. Like, I wouldn't call it a franchise, but we got The Female Prisoner Scorpion. 701 was the first one. These are all bootlegs with the Eureka cover art. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my hands on the Arrow video release. I'm not paying hundreds of dollars for it. There's no fucking way. No thank you. Goodbye. So there's the bootleg of number 1. Number 2, which is Jailhouse 41. Number 3, I think number 3 is actually this one, Be Stable. And then the last one is Grudge Song. If you've not seen these, I highly recommend them. Great revenge stuff. Lots of blood, lots of action. I believe it was number 2. Was number 2 the real fucking trippy one? I don't know. There was one where like they met this fucking lady out in the woods. Like a bunch of them escaped from like a prison bus, and they met this old broad in the woods. It was fucking out of control, but I was really, really happy with this series. So if you've yet to check them out, go ahead and check them out. They're worth it. They're all from the 70s. Basically, high violent 70s Japanese cinema is pretty much going to be a fucking win all the way around. Just throw those like I don't care. Next, I had to get a Takashi Miike film on here, and it goes. That reminded me. I did not include a Kinji Fukusaku film in this list, I don't believe, but he's one of my favorites, so that's a potential part 2. But Takashi Miike's Ichi the Killer, of course. Everyone sort of knows, like, with this movie, automatically you're getting lied to, kind of, because a lot of people, I think, go into this flick thinking that this blonde-haired dude is Ichi the Killer, and like fucking dirt on my nose, or am I tripping balls? Maybe I'm tripping balls, but okay, I thought I had like it's because of the lighting, the fucking excellent Kubrick-esque lighting in here right now. Yeah, this is not the Ichi the Killer. Ichi the Killer is like this weird fucking guy that's like upset. Like, it's a weird thing. It's based on a manga, and a lot of times with mangas, like, they're kind of out of control anyway. And this is not even this is not even. I've only seen a handful of Miike films, but this is not my favorite. I think my favorite is Dead Alive number 1. Like, that movie starts off with a guy taking a fucking rail of coke that's literally probably 15 feet long. It's out of control, but this is one that you definitely need to check out. It's highly recommended, and I really like it. There's a lot of good scenes. Yakuza shit, can't really go wrong with that, especially like, a lot of people liken the character of this Yakuza guy as like the Joker, because he has like the whole, the Glasgow smile, whatever the fuck you want to call it, wears the purple jacket, all that stuff, really crazy. So yeah, this is a bootleg as well. I think I got this from, it's a bootleg, but it's like they had the decency to like label it, you know what I mean, with like a printer. Next, we got The King of the fucking Monsters, of course. Had to bust this bad boy out. This was when I was first getting into collecting DVDs and stuff like that. This was one of the first box sets I picked up, and it is the Godzilla collection. And it's basically all I need, to be honest with you. Like, it has the original cut, Gojira. It's got Godzilla King of the Monsters, which has Raymond Burr included. Godzilla Raids Again, Mothra vs. Godzilla. Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster, which is great. Invasion of Astro Monster, All Monsters Attack, and Terror of Mecha Godzilla. So you got some pretty heavy hitters right here. The first one is all I pretty much need these days. And there's ones peppered throughout the, like, I love Godzilla 2000. Shout out to my homeboy GDJ Rod. We did a commentary about that film. It's on my channel if you check it out there. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun watching Godzilla films throughout my life, and I just think the original one is the most terrifying. It's my favorite to watch, just because I think of, when you're watching it, and I grew up with Gojira on VHS, but it was the Raymond Burr cut, and I just remember thinking it was so cool, like the idea of Godzilla, like the filmmaking process behind it, with, of course, like all the miniatures and guy in a suit. It's just really cool, man. It was kind of the first movie that did that, as far as I know, but I know it was copied like fucking countless times after, with movies like, all those giant monster movies basically took and I could be totally wrong. There might have been something that predated Godzilla, but uh, we'll have to check out and see what happens. We'll have to do some fucking research on that one, some independent research. You can go ahead and do. Next, we got a great film, which is this is a mashup of of like five. I don't know. I think it was put together with 2 films, but it's of a 5-film franchise, and that movie is Shogun Assassin. Okay, of course, based on the manga by Kojima and Koike. They did Lone Wolf and Cub, and those movies were made back in the 70s, and this movie was edited together by Americans. Shogun Assassin is great. Of course, if you're a fan of the Wu-Tang Clan, you know that the score, or excuse me, not the score, the CD or the album Liquid Swords by the GZA, it's like all throughout it. It's fucking awesome. It's kind of like the same thing with Only Built for Cuban Links has a bunch of The Killer peppered throughout, so I always like that. But Shogun Assassin, of course, a story of a Ronin basically goes on the road to revenge, or goes on a road of vengeance with his infant child in this fucking cart that's decked out with swords and knives and all sorts of dangerous implements, which is fucking fantastic, man. I love watching Shogun Assassin. This is gonna sound really fucking insane, but I have the sealed Criterion of the Lone Wolf and Cub films. I believe there's a copy of Shogun Assassin on that, and I've yet to crack that fucker. And I've had it for like over a year, maybe even 2. But one of these nights, or one of these weekends rather, when I got lots of free time, I'll fucking pop those in and just marathon them, or maybe not marathon them, maybe watch them once a week, and enjoy them that way, because I kind of enjoy them like a fucking TV show. Although it's rare nowadays that shows come out 1 episode at a time. Although I don't really watch, I don't have TV, don't really watch much TV. But I remember back in the day, like the last time I had cable was season 5 of Walking Dead. So that is going back there. But Shogun Assassin, choose the sword, join me. Choose the ball, join your mother in death. Hell yeah. Next we got one that I actually watched. I believe last year so probably 2021, 31 Days of Horror, I reviewed this. This is from 1964. We've got Onibaba, directed by Kenito Shindo, which this is a fucking fantastic movie. It's about this woman who's living with her mother, or living with her mother-in-law while her husband is like out to war, and basically what they do is they basically like kill these samurai and shit and take their armor and sell it and for food and shit. It's really crazy. It might not be for everybody, but it was definitely for me. And I love the imagery of this masked guy that comes in, and what ends up happening with that old lady. And it's really fucking good, man. I didn't check out any of the special features on this because I actually watched the movie on the computer for 31 Days of Horror that year, and then I loved it so much I ended up buying it, and this was the Criterion cut. Had to have been on sale because I do not buy Criterion. Like, I think I got 3 of them. I got this one, I got the Lone Wolf and Cub, which was on sale for like $50, and my homeboy Radioactive Blobfield hooked me up with the Videodrome one, and then the other one I know that I have is Dazed and Confused, but it was a fucking it was like a rental copy that was at a thrift shop and I bought it, but it's the Criterion disc. Moving on, we've got, this is a great one. This is directed by Gareth Evans. He's a Welshman, and he did this Indonesian action film called The Raid Redemption, which actually is a sequel that's really fucking good too. But it's basically, this is a really good apartment movie film. It's basically he goes up to the top to kill the bad guy sort of thing. A good movie to pair this with, I believe, is called The Horde, which is a French film, which is a zombie film. And if you want to get even more fucking OG with it, you could watch Demons 2 with this as like a triple feature. The Raid. I'm sure everyone's probably seen this or at least have heard of it. Go ahead and watch it. Do yourself a favor. It's phenomenal. As far as and the cool thing about the sequel and the special effects, there's like this, like this Gareth Edwards guy. He did like video storyboards for this film. So, and he has like, they're in the special features. You can watch like the storyboards, but like ridiculous, man. Awesome stuff. Really, really respect filmmakers that film the behind the scenes process and include it in the releases, and this is like some shit you don't get with fucking your precious Netflix and HBO and all that horse shit, you know? Like, sure, these movies are available to watch, but for how long? And do you get any of the features? Fuck no. Do you get a commentary? Are you nuts? You don't even get a trailer, you know? You get a fucking misleading poster. You know what I mean? Like, I hate when you go on Netflix and let's just, for instance, say the movie Django, and like the thumbnail is just like a shot of like, you know, like a random actor, like has nothing to do with the movie. It's so stupid, but The Raid, worth watching. Same with the sequel, not to be mistaken with another film called The Raid. Okay, we're getting into the nitty gritty here. This is one of my favorite all-time martial arts films. It's a Shaw Brothers film, and it is called Three Evil Masters. It's so goddamn good, man. This movie has so many quotable lines, so much good action, a really good storyline, and just awesome fucking, you know, awesome fighting, man. That's all you really want with this kind of movie. But yeah, this one, highly recommended. It's about like this master that gets injured by these three evil masters, and then he ends up getting saved by this like peasant guy, and he teaches him martial arts, and you know, the whole 9 yards. But really good stuff. Three Evil Masters is definitely worth checking out. I believe it goes by another title. Don't know what it is. That's one of Richie's movies. Never get rid of that. Here's another great one, 36 Chambers of Shaolin, man. I'm due to watch this fucking movie. It's so good. Followed by a sequel, of course, but it's kind of like the same deal as Three Evil Masters in a way. Like, this guy wants to learn martial arts, and he ends up going to this school, and then, you know, going through the 36 chambers, the 35 chambers. There is no 36. Like, really good stuff. There's actually commentary on here by the RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan with this film scholar, Andy Klein, and it's actually really entertaining. I actually really enjoyed it. Even like the guy, I don't really like watching movies where it's like a film scholar, like that has nothing to do with the film, but like this was like, they had good banter. It was cool because like RZA's like from Staten Island, and this guy's just like some like, I don't know, like guys from Indiana or some shit, and like they jive together, and they know what they're talking about, and that's what you want. Last but not least, my favorite Asian film of all time. Those of you that know me might actually know what's about to happen here, but we've got none other than John Woo's The Killer, the motherfucking killer, starring Chow Yun-fat, Danny Lee, of course, Sally Ye. I believe it's Sally Ye. I actually don't mind her like music throughout the film. It's pretty good. She was like the equivalent of like Jennifer Lopez over there. So really interesting to see. Like, if you don't know the story of The Killer, it's basically Chow Yun-fat plays this assassin, and Danny Lee plays a cop who's undercover, and he, like, his opening scene is awesome. Like how they go to this gun deal. And the bad guy in that gun deal, he's actually in a movie that I just watched with Danny Lee and Chow Yun-fat called City on Fire, which is like you know, there's a lot of stuff in there that you see later on in Reservoir Dogs, just a few short years after. But yeah, man, I'm pretty sure. So I've watched all the special features on this, but I don't think there's a commentary. And even if there was, it would kind of be, it's hard to listen to a commentary unless it's like a dubbed commentary, which is, you don't get all the nuances and the little, like, you know, hiccupy fuck ups and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I just really wanted to talk about some of my favorite movies, and expect more videos like this, because I could go on for days. And like I've said, man, like I love horror, obviously, but it's not just horror. Horror's a big fucking part of it. But you know, like I love Dirty Harry. I think a lot of people or a lot of the stuff I like, I think horror fuckers would like if they gave it a chance, or they probably already do enjoy it. Movies like Dirty Harry, obviously, Silver Streak with fucking Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, Car Wash with fucking, you know, George Carlin's in there, Richard Pryor's in there, Bill Duke, and fucking, you know, there's a lot of really good movies that have yet to be discovered by the masses, you know, because all the stuff they keep releasing is pure fucking ass. It's horrible, man. But, you know, we live in a great era where we can kind of, if we can't buy this stuff, we can find it online, like, in fucking seconds. So I'll leave it at that. I appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure you leave a 666 in the comments if you're interested in picking up any of the zines, including Cinema 187 issue number 2. Go ahead, message me, cinema.187 on Instagram. 666, adios, amigos.